Is the 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-E a true Mustang? Because the 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-E is the first ever Mustang SUV, first ever four-door Mustang, first ever production all-wheel drive Mustang, first ever electric Mustang. And we're going to look at some of the unique features, talk to the chief program leader and the chief designer to figure out whether or not this is worthy of that Mustang badge. Ford debuted the Mustang back in April of 1964, and for the last 55 years, this is pretty much what they've looked like. A classic front engine, rear wheel drive, two-door coupe configuration. Well, this is the new Ford Mustang Mach-E. And Ford said this is a Mustang through and through. In fact, in the front, you'll find a Mustang emblem. On the steering wheel, you'll find a Mustang emblem. On the wheels, you'll find a Mustang emblem. It actually doesn't say Ford visibly anywhere around or inside the car. When this program first launched, Ford actually targeted a compliance vehicle, as they called it. So, kind of a little bit bland, but very efficient. However, at some point throughout the program, I heard somewhere in the range of a year and a half, the entire program shifted directions. And that's when they decided to build the Mustang Mach-E, this aggressive, passionate, as they describe it, true Mustang. So here we can actually see the difference. Now, this red dotted line is the original compliance vehicle. It's kind of like a slant nose hatchback. And then we can see the black line is what the final silhouette of the current Mach-E is. So it's kind of taller, more in your face, and more aggressive.
The biggest challenge was when we first started this program, it was all about being a compliance vehicle. We quickly understood that we can't have an ownable position in the market with a compliance vehicle. So we pivoted really quickly and reproportioned the entire vehicle so that it had those classic Mustang proportions. We extended the length of the hood, we pushed the A-pillar way back, we gave it that fastback rail.
So what are some of the design cues that define a Mustang that you had to put in a new vehicle?
There's several. Honestly, from a body side standpoint, the Mustang haunch, that real powerful haunch over the rear wheel, really gave it some muscle. So that's one of the key features. One of the other key features that we carried forward was the tri-bar lamps. Now both front and rear, 100% LED with tracers going through both.
One of the classic Mustang design elements is the sloping fastback. And actually Ford has tried to retain that there on the new Mach-E. You can still see that sloping fastback design, but it actually is a little bit more cheeky than that, because if you look carefully, there's actually a bit of black that extends above that white sloping roofline. Here, I'll give you a better look. There, I don't know if you can see that. Now that is what Ford described as design trickery to make the vehicle look sleeker and lower and a little bit wider, but still maintain rear seat headroom. Now in order for this vehicle to wear that Mustang name, it has to go like a Mustang, perform like a Mustang.
First of all, we have the performance. I think you heard with the GT, we're in the mid 3 seconds, 0 to 60. And even our base units are very, very comparable to a Mustang, a non-GT Mustang. The performance was there from a power and pickup standpoint. We had to do a lot of work on the handling. We were the first program to utilize our simulator, our Ford Racing Simulator down in North Carolina. First program to ever do that. And so it really gave us a leg up because we didn't have to wait for the hardware. We could plug in our CAE models and you could then tweak parameters, drive the car, get instantaneous feedback, make an adjustment, change some parameter, and really start to dial in where you wanted to go with the chassis and the body.
There are actually a few different configurations of Mustang Mach-E, both in terms of battery capacity and drivetrain layout. First of all, there's two batteries, a standard range and an extended range. The standard range is a 75.7 kilowatt hour battery and the extended range 98.8. Then in drive layout, if you get a rear wheel drive model, you have one electric motor in the rear, all wheel drive, one in the rear, one in the front.
This is the front drive unit, so this would be the rear of the unit, this would be the front. The front trunk or front would sit here. This is the charging unit. It's it's single and three-phase capable, so it's globally compatible. This is the ISC, so that's the DC to DC converter, and so underneath here you've got the you actually have the front drive unit. It's a coaxial motor with a planetary single drive gear, and this is it broken down. So this is rated at 50 kilowatts. The rear is rated at 210 kilowatts. What a lot of people don't know, Ford have got a long history with electric motors. We've been building hybrids since 2004. We have 800,000 vehicles in the market. They have 2 motors each, so we've got 1.6 million motors, not a single failure.
What does this mean in terms of power numbers? Well, a base model with rear-wheel drive and the small battery will develop, according to Ford, 255 horsepower, but a top trim Mustang GT, 459 horsepower. Same story with torque. That rear-wheel drive model, that base model, 306 pound-feet of torque. The Mustang GT, 612 pound-feet of torque. And 0 to 60, once again, all over the board, ranging from about mid-6s all the way down to mid-3s. Now, range is an interesting story because, once again, it will vary a lot based on trim. For example, the smallest range, which is a small battery and all-wheel drive, that vehicle is targeting an EPA range of 210. Now, if you get the big battery and rear-wheel drive, that vehicle is targeting an EPA estimate of 300 miles. One of the more common trims I think we'll see, the all-wheel drive with the extended range pack, is targeting 270 miles, which is pretty good, but still below some of the competition from the upcoming Tesla Model Y. One thing that isn't so hot is if you get the Mustang GT, you have to get the big battery, but because you have 210 kilowatt motors front and rear, that vehicle is only rated at 235 miles, or that's what Ford is targeting. There's other reasons for this: aero and larger tires and perhaps extra weight, but I'd love to see that number a little higher.
The battery pack sits between the frame rails and underneath the occupants, so it's positioned between the 2 wheels, so it provides us with a really low center of gravity and helps us deliver a really stable vehicle.
Now, in order to keep your car on the road, you have to keep it charged. Probably no big secret there, and Ford gives you multiple solutions to do so. This is the first. This is called the mobile charger. It's included with all Mach-E's, and it actually has 2 different outlet heads on it: a 120 volt outlet and a 240 volt outlet head. Now, at 120 volts, this mobile charger will let you charge at about 3 miles per hour, which isn't all that quick. But if you upgrade to the 240 volt, which is included with the car, and you have something like a dryer plug installed in your garage, you can charge at speeds of up to 22 miles an hour. Now, one of the more interesting new things Ford is debuting is this. This is called the Ford Connected Charge Station. This is a 240 volt system, 48 amp, and they're actually teaming with Amazon. You buy the system off Amazon, you actually select someone off Amazon to come and install it, or they'll connect you with someone, I should say, to install it in your house. And then with this system, you can charge up to 32 miles an hour at 48 amps. Ford Pass here is one of the big steps in EV charging, because what Ford is trying to do here is integrate the big charging players into one app. So much like the Tesla Supercharger, you're going to be able to select a charging station on the app, see how much it costs, see how many are available, and then set that as a destination in the Ford Sync 4 system and go there. You can also monitor, of course, your charging rates and all that. Now, Ford says in the future they're hoping to actually be able to just simply drive the car up to any station, plug it in, and then it will sync with your Ford account, charge you remotely, much like Tesla does with their supercharging system. In terms of DC fast charging, Ford says the Mustang Mach-E will be able to charge at rates of up to 150 kilowatts.
My name is Mark Kaufman, and I am the Global Director for Marketing, Sales, and Service for our electric vehicles. The top 5 descriptive words when we've shown customers the vehicle and we haven't shown them the badge, and we've done this both for the Mustang Mach-E and the original Mustang Coupe, the words are the same. It's sleek, it's aggressive, it's sporty, it's modern, it's futuristic. So we actually see people describe it in the exact same way.
The interior of the Mach-E is largely dominated by this large and in-charge 15.5-inch infotainment screen. And this incorporates just about every function in the vehicle into one place. So it does away with your standard row of buttons and knobs and dials. This is very much like what Tesla's doing with just about every model. The rest of the interior is very minimalist. There's a completely flat floor, which is great for rear passengers. The seats feel pretty supportive, and there's just a lot of space for things.
Everything was based on the consumer. You know, we've got a new opportunity to use the space and give it back to the consumer, and that's kind of a new opportunity for us, and it's a dream come true. So we kind of looked at how consumers use the product with their stuff, whether it's umbrellas or purses or yoga bags, whatever, and thought about how we could reproportion the interior around their lifestyle. We tried to carve away space in the console for purses, and then we found out in research that people didn't want it out of reach. They thought it would get dirty, they thought they couldn't get to their things. So we developed a flip-up armrest, you can see here and here, and you can have your stuff, your fanny pack, your purse, your camera bag, kind of on your person, so people can access their things while they're driving. And people seemed really emotionally attached to that idea. This is a subtle nod to classic Mustangs. We call it the double brow, and all Mustangs in the 60s and 70s had that symmetrical dashboard, and we really wanted to kind of pay some homage to those Mustangs and our past and our history, but without making it too aggressive, too overt. It's a new, sleek, modern interpretation of that idea.
Now, one thing Ford was very proud of is they actually kept the little 10.2-inch display in front of the car. This helps emphasize it is a driver's car. This displays just two things, range and speed.
This is a driver's car at the end of the day. So the 15.5 allowed us to take extra content out of the cluster that doesn't pertain to driving, and we were able to pare it down to just the essentials. How fast am I going? How long can I do it? And it's a driver's car. Without that, it's an appliance.
One of the coolest features of the Mustang Mach-E that no one is really talking about is the autonomous tech, because if you order certain trims of the Mustang Mach-E, the car is actually going to come equipped with all the hardware for full self-driving on the highway. But it's not going to come enabled just yet, because Ford is still in their verification process for their full self-driving highway technology. But once that is fully cooked, they're going to release it to those cars through an over-the-air update. So just like Tesla does, Ford is really relying heavily on over-the-air updates to add functionality and features and ease of use to their new cars. And if you're one of those vehicles with all the autonomous hardware, once that over-the-air update gets sent out, then you're going to be able to drive your car on the highway hands-free. Not Tesla where like it's 15 seconds, 30 seconds, and you have to put your hands back on, but full on, hands off the wheel, feet off the pedals, let's cruise down the highway, a lot like Cadillac Super Cruise. Here we have several different trims of Mustang Mach-E, and the vehicle is going to launch with this, the first edition, but this is going to be kind of a limited run of models. From there, it's going to go Select, Premium, and GT throughout the lineup. So the Select is the base model. You can tell by this flat black cladding here. It's got the smallest wheel, and there's a sense of what the interior is going to look like. Stepping up from there, you got your Premium. So first and foremost, different headlight design, these kind of gloss black arch down the side. It just looks, well, a lot more premium, for being honest. You can see different seat designs. And the GT, which is coming in 2021, is a performance-oriented model. Now, there's actually quite a difference in the front-end design between the Premium and the GT. Of course, bigger wheel and tire package, unique seats, some differences in the interior. Of course, GT badging there on the armrest, GT on the rear end. So that's a sense of what the different trims are going to look like. So there you have it, a first quick look at the 2020 Ford Mustang Mach-E. What do I think of it? Well, I think it's a very good looking Ford SUV crossover. Now, Bill Ford came on stage and said that your friends will instantly recognize it as a Mustang. I'm not so sure about that. I see a lot of Mustang cues in it, but it doesn't scream Mustang to me.
It's absolutely exhilarating. You've never driven anything like it. I was honestly skeptical in the beginning, but it gives you a whole different feeling of performance when you actually drive this thing.
Going back to the Ford Racing Simulator, we used the same ride and handling team as the Mustang, so we took all of that Mustang expertise. Obviously, you're dealing with a bigger and it's a heavier vehicle because of the battery, and you've got all the differences about being a sport utility and sitting up a little bit higher. So those were all challenges, but again, using that simulator, we got out in front of it, and you know, we built our prototypes, two of which are standing here right now. We're still tuning because these are still prototypes. We haven't started production yet, but we are very, very confident we're going to meet the requirements to be a Mustang.
You know, I've owned a few Mustangs along the way, and the thing I always loved about it was just that get up and go performance. And this vehicle just goes. I've driven the rear-wheel drive standard battery vehicle, and even that has got startling performance. And so, yeah, I think people are going to be really happy with it, and not just the performance. You know, you can take friends along, you can take luggage. It's a game changer.
The 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-E starts at just under $44,000. Now, if you opt for a top spec GT, that starts at just over $60,000. The Mustang Mach-E will be available at the end of 2020, with GT models coming in 2021. Be sure to let me know in the comment section below. What do you think? Because that's what I really care about. Is this a true Mustang? Is this worthy of the pony badge on the front of the car? As always, this is Tommy with the Fast Lane Car. Head over to tflcar.com for the latest and greatest in everything Mustang.